Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents The Corner Bookstore, hosted by Red O'Loughlin. Step into a world where every story inspires. These pages come to life through the voices of authors from around the globe. Written by our global community of TV show hosts and best-selling authors, these works span genres, generations, and geographies, united by the power of storytelling. Discover your next favorite book and meet the minds behind the work. Thursdays, only on USA Global TV and Radio.
Howdy all, Red O'Loughlin here. We're on the Corner Bookstore on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. And our guest today is Bill Brown, and I'll be bringing him out in just a brief moment. Quick note about me. I'm a TV host chair, do 3 shows every Thursday, back to back to back. This is the first one. When I'm not doing that, I research the human body at the cellular level. Chemically speaking, I look for cause and effect relationships. Treat a cause, fix a problem. Treat symptoms, and you'll always be treating symptoms. So the focus primarily that I look at is longevity, age-related diseases. What can we do to make our later lives, our retirement years, much better, that we can just truly enjoy life? That's my real focus. I speak on it. I write about it. I have over 1,000 original content articles on some aspect of health and wellness on LinkedIn, about 1,500 on my website. Besides that, I publish books. I've done about 50 books for other people. In fact, I just published one this past week for somebody, I think, in Mississippi. I know it's in the United States, but I did one last month for a guy in Dubai, which is kind of an interesting one with the time zones. That being said, my guest today is super. I'm really looking forward to him. I met him at a recent veterans event. He was one of the keynote speakers at that event. And after things were over, I went over and chatted with him, bought his book, and we chatted a little bit. He said, hey, I'd love to have you on my show. And here he is today. Bill Brown, please join us.
Red, it's a pleasure to be on with you. Wonderful to meet you at that event you spoke of, and I've been looking forward to our little chat today.
Well, when I was doing some research on you, we're almost the same age. Your birth month and date is almost the same as my wife's, 1 year apart. Okay. So I'm a year older than you, which means that we both got an invitation to Vietnam, but way back when. You were in Saigon for a while, and I was flying out of Cam Ranh Bay and a couple other places. So
nice.
So that was a long time ago, and then you get out and you start doing other things. But you happen to pick up, from what I understand, a very unique perspective when you were over there with regard to your job in the military and your job after you got out of the military. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it was interesting, Red, and you were at risk somewhat. I was not. I wound up, I began in Long Binh at U.S. Army Vietnam headquarters, And I was what I think we call a war correspondent, although I really didn't think of it that way. But a buddy of mine who was in my unit called himself a war correspondent. So then I guess I was one too. And our jobs with USRV headquarters, the public information branch, was to travel if we so chose. We had blanket travel orders to go anywhere we wanted in Vietnam, interview soldiers in any capacity, talk to them about their jobs, etc. And then I would go back with my audio tapes to a studio I had in the air-conditioned headquarters. So what a job. Nobody had a good job like this except me. And then I would put together some voiceover information and would use the soldier's voice to describe what he was doing and send that in about a 3.5-minute package back to his hometown radio station, whether it be Omaha, Nebraska, or wherever in the United States, so the people back in his hometown could have a good idea of what he was doing. I did that for about 6 months. Then I got a chance to be transferred to AFVN in Saigon and be a sportscaster. And that's what I always wanted to be in my life, a sportscaster. But my first job in TV was in San Antonio, Texas, right after college. And I was not a sportscaster there. I was a news reporter, not really what I hoped to do, but that was the way it went. So being in the Army in Vietnam gave me really my first break to do what I wanted to do, Red.
I think in one of the interviews I was reading about you, I don't know, it was before you got the job at Cincinnati or not, that you would do practice or simulated games as if somebody was actually going on out there. Tell us how you developed that process and what actually happened.
This is what I talk to high school kids about today if they want to be play-by-play broadcasters. Turn off the sound on TV, get the rosters of the teams, get the lineups or whatever written down, and so you'll have some information, whatever notes you want to make, and then start doing the game yourself into a little tape recorder. Listen to it, evaluate it yourself. If it's not very good, do a game the next day. Keep on doing that until you think you're getting pretty good, and then let a professional evaluate the tape for you and give you some suggestions. And that's still the process that we're using today, Red. So this business, even with all the technology and everything, hasn't changed all that much.
Interesting, because you would expect that would be the normal process that somebody would develop. They just don't sit down and voila, you're instantly a play-by-play announcer. There has to be some workup of it. And obviously you sit in the booth or you sit behind somebody who's doing it, you get a chance to observe it, but you don't get those invitations to sit behind somebody's chair and listen to the game and see how they do everything.
No, and I tell kids, look, if you want to have your own YouTube channel or whatever, and one young lady did get her own YouTube channel. She set up a little studio in her home. She had some artwork behind her, and she used some graphics and put together some tapes. And I think that's really a big reason that she has improved so much. And she's right now at North Texas University. She'll be a senior, and she's making wonderful progress in the business. So it's still the old-fashioned way to do it, but I think she's doing it the best way, Red.
Okay, well, let's get back to the focus of our show today, the Corner Bookstore. You just had a book literally come out this month, right?
Yes.
Wartime Athletes. That ties in a little bit with your background. And so tell us about the book. Why did you write it? How long did it take? Give us a little bit of information about it.
Sure, Red. About Veterans Day last year, we have a middle school that's a few blocks from where we live, and they have a really nice ceremony for veterans. They invite all the kids to come, and they have some breakfast sandwiches for the veterans in the area. They have their orchestra playing patriotic songs. A couple of the kids give patriotic speeches, and they needed a speaker, so they invited me to do that. And then I also spoke at another Veterans Day ceremony we have a little park for veterans here near Town Lake in Cypress where we live. And so we have a gathering on Veterans Day every year. We'll get, 30, 40 people from the area to come out. Speeches are at a minimum, but I needed material, Red, for both of those speeches. I really didn't have any. So I had to do some research. And I started reading about a lot of athletes, of course, since that's the world I've been living in for my whole life, and their service in all the different branches during the various world wars. And I got very inspired by reading those stories. Then I decided I would start writing some of those resumes about those people on Facebook, tell their stories a little bit, and got some good feedback from that on my Facebook page. So I asked a few people, do you think there would be a book in this? And they felt there was. And that's how the book started. And then it just, of course, as you know, one thing leads to another. You read one book about World War II, you want to read a book about Vietnam, et cetera. And it just spiraled into Wartime Athletes.
That's not your first book, though.
No, sir. That's my 13th.
Okay, but you have another one on baseball you released a couple of years ago, right?
Yes, I've done several on baseball, the Houston Astros, my former employer before I retired. And and then last year I actually did, since I felt I had done all the writing on the Astros I could possibly do, I did one on the 1964 baseball pennant race, and the St. Louis Cardinals were kind of the central focus of that, and that is baseball's bizarre season there.
A lot of bizarre stuff going on. Some people claim that there's not enough action in baseball, and they lose interest. They would rather, get more involved in something that's actively going on all the time.
Right.
But I fell in love with baseball way back when. I guess the real reason I fell in love with baseball is Mickey Mantle, probably more so than anything else. And then Yogi Berra and some of the other ones, and you start tracking things around, you kind of emotionally get involved. And then Maris came into the picture, and this thing, it's just kind of exploded, and I kept that. And then Nolan Ryan entered in, and I was super happy with everything until the Astros didn't re-sign him. So I stopped going to the Astros game, and I started watching him on Texas Rangers. Anyway, that's about me. But
yes.
But it's just, you follow the celebrities, you follow the athletes. There's a lot of draw there, and you're seeing them all the time. You get a chance to highlight their good and their bad, and enjoy both ends of the career. When they come on and when they leave, it's an amazing area, because people don't spend more than 20 years in a professional field nowadays.
True. When you and I came out of school, some of our buddies would go to work for IBM, and they would work for IBM their entire careers, or some other major corporation. And that was the world back then. Now there's a lot of movement, a lot of career movement for these young people now.
Yeah, we had one guy that I do remember. He had more patents than he had years with the company. He had 43 years with the company.
That is fantastic. I wish I could be that inventive,
But how long did it take you let's concentrate on the latest book here, the Wartime Athletes, because there's a lot of good information in that. Mm-hmm. How long did it take you to write that?
Started in November, finished in April, and then I did an audio book, which was fun also. So it's quick for a book. I think most people would say, well, if you don't spend a year, you haven't done your homework on that. And there's something to be said for that. And maybe my attention span isn't what it should be, but it's about 80 profiles of different professional athletes. So a little slice of Bob Feller, and a little dose of Pat Tillman, et cetera, things like that. So it moves, I feel, pretty quickly. I bought a book on World War II, and by Victor Davis Hanson, and I think some of our viewers may have read some of his books. He is a history expert, and he called it the Second World Wars, plural. And I was just really curious about that. Well, it really was two different wars, one against Germany, one against Japan. And this book was, I think about 900 pages long, and just a marvelous book, one of the best books I've read. There's only one Victor Davis Hanson out there. The rest of us should not attempt to do 900-page books.
And ironically, that's to me an ideal size. I like that 900 to 1,100 pages. I can't think of her name right now. Colleen McCullough.
Okay.
She wrote maybe almost a dozen books on Caesar, starting with his grandfather. And I just fell in love with her writing and everything going on back in that period of time. But I pick up a book and I get about 2/3 of the way through it, 700 pages. And I'm starting to see, I only got that much left. little bit of withdrawal happening already.
Well, you're a more ardent reader than I am. I'm a sports guy, so I like quick books.
So when you write your book, how long does it take? I mean, obviously it takes a few months to write it, but editing for most of us is a skill set that we don't have. It's something we pay for, share with somebody else or many people. How's your editing going?
Not well. I would be inclined to agree if somebody wanted me to edit a fairly simple book for them. But as you said, editing for most of us does not go well if we've written the material. I ran into a problem, and I will go ahead and put it on the line for you. I don't like to hire other people to do that, but some friends have done it for me on other books. This time, Amazon is starting a new division helping people to get published. And you go through a company called Kindle Direct Publishing, which is a division of Amazon. And they were offering a service involving editing and a book cover. And I really needed a book cover. So I signed up for that. It was very, very minor in terms of expense for a book service of this nature. But the people that they had editing my book were not sports people. They did not understand sports language. They wanted to change a lot of the language. And then I found myself re-editing what they had edited. So it turned out to be a lengthy process, Red.
Okay. Another skill set we as writers don't typically have is marketing.
Yep.
When did you start marketing when you first started writing, you got over a dozen books. Did you start marketing as soon as you're writing the book, or the book was out and now all of a sudden now you're forced to market it? And then how has that changed with regard to your latest book?
Good question. I wait until the book is finished, and then I have a few people read it, and then I start mentioning it on Facebook. I'm not a good marketer, so I'll put it on Facebook, put it on Instagram, maybe X, but that's about it. I've put more into this book, Wartime Athletes, than the previous ones because it's for a cause and the money is going to veterans charities. And we have a veterans committee here where we live in a senior community. So we do fundraisers for military charities, and this is a part of that. And so I'm more inclined to want to get out in the public and take a few books and go speak to a senior group or any type of group and talk about the stories of the people in the book. And the real purpose of this book, Red, was to keep these stories alive, because I'm afraid some of these stories are going to die over time. And, it's been 80 years since World War II ended and things of that nature. And heck, I was watching Midway again last night, so I guess I'm stuck in the past. But there are a lot of us who were truly fascinated by World War II.
It's interesting because I told you a real life story about Yogi Berra when he was with the Astros. And you said, well, do you know about his venture there in D-Day going into? And I said, no, I wasn't aware of that. Why don't you relate that so you get a little hint of the kinds of things you talk about in your book?
Right. And, people know Warren Spahn. He's the winningest left-handed pitcher of all time. And I think many do know that he served in World War II, but they didn't realize that he was at the bridge at Remagen, and he was with the combat engineering group, and the bridge collapsed into the river, and he was there for all that. He actually got injured. And, the heroism of people like Warren Spahn, and then, Ralph Houck, who was the manager and general manager of the New York Yankees, came back one time with 9 prisoners all by himself. He had been given a Jeep to go scout behind enemy lines. And just the heroism of these people, and the fact that they were willing to miss, we'll say, 4 years in some cases, Ted Williams, Bob Feller, of their baseball careers and the very lucrative careers they were, to go serve their country. These are the stories I think that need to live on.
How do you find these stories?
There have been many books written about them, Red, and mine is kind of a collection of several. We went to the World War II Museum in New Orleans in February. Wonderful, wonderful Museum. They probably have 150 different types of military books about World War II for sale in their 2 different bookstores that I saw. And so there's a lot to choose from. There's one on that they put out, the World War II Museum published when football went to war and when baseball went to war. And these are all about World War II only. One totally about football players, another one totally about baseball players. And they were great. They were coffee table books with photos. Mine is not either one of those 2 things. And I wanted this to be different. Otherwise, why do it? But they, there were books that stuck only to baseball, and I didn't want to do that, although this is quite a bit, 70% of it may be about baseball. But we talk about pro golfers, boxers, football, basketball, you name it. I just wanted to open it up to people who enjoy the different sports and maybe are not such great baseball fans.
We're getting ready to go to a station break here, a commercial break here in just a very brief moment. After we come back, I want to share a couple thoughts on editing and get a little bit deeper into that topic, because that's one I think that we as writers, that's one we struggle with because it's not in our wheelhouse most of the time. So we'll be back in just a minute and we'll talk about editing some more.
Okay.
In a world craving connection, one platform dared to dream bigger. USA Global TV and Radio, a beacon for global voices, authentic storytelling, and elevated listening. Led by visionary Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, the journey from a spark to a global force is now captured in one inspiring book. Honored with YouTube's Silver Creator Award for surpassing 100,000 subscribers, discover the evolution, the challenges, the triumphs, and the unstoppable spirit that created a global movement. Executive producer Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang. Creative director Paul Garcia. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication, or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited. Now an Amazon #1 new release in paperback and ebook. Broadcasting Brilliance, the evolution of USA Global TV and Radio, is inspiring readers around the world. Join the movement that's redefining global media one story at a time.
Howdy, Red O'Loughlin here on the Corner Bookstore on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. I am super honored today to have Bill Brown, former play-by-play announcer with the Houston Astros, as my guest today. His latest book just came out literally August of this year, just a week or so back. Please join me back up here on stage again, Bill.
Thank you, Red. Great to be on with you.
One of the things I do is I have neighbors, friends, colleagues. I come over to the house, have a little bit of dessert, glass of wine or two, and I hand out random chapters, a clipboard and a red pen. And because I write on technical subjects, I say, if anything there doesn't make sense, a word, a paragraph, just circle it. And I get a bunch of feedback. And sometimes I get some really, really good feedback. I can remember the first time somebody circled about 15 ifs. And the note was, change if to win. Well, when I went back and I did a find, I had 80 some odd ifs. I think I changed all but 2 of them. And so you get different perspectives. So I use that when I can. Then COVID kind of disrupted that a bit. But I find that to be easy because you're not looking for everybody in the industry. You're looking for people who are just buyers of that kind of book.
Right.
Have you used AI at all for any kind of editing?
I chose not to use AI, and as you know now, you can have AI narrate your book. I don't understand how that could possibly be interesting whatsoever. But anyway, no, I did not use AI. Amazon does not offer AI, and I'm glad. So the technique I used on this most recent book was to have 6 of my friends read each chapter and offer suggestions. And a lot of it would be editing suggestions, but a lot of it would be one friend of mine who was an executive with one of the oil companies and very high up in the chain, was excellent at reading every word. And he is a very intelligent man. So he would write about 8 questions about that chapter. And I had not answered, obviously, those 8 questions. So I would have to go back and do more digging, more research, more writing, and then add to the chapter. And that was very helpful in the editing process. But the other thing I do now, Red, is read the version into a tape recorder. And I'll send it to a friend, or it'll be part of a radio program I'm doing or something like that. And by verbalizing out loud, you can catch a lot of mistakes that you can't catch otherwise. I think, yeah, you know this better than I do. You're an expert on the human body, but there must be something with the brain that slows down when you're reading each word out loud that you don't do when you're, because my problem is I'm a speed reader, I'm a skimmer, so I don't really read every word. And that's helpful too, for me anyway.
Okay, there's a function within Microsoft Word. You usually go there for spell check. A couple tabs over, it's read aloud.
Okay.
You put your book right, you just put your chapter right there, whatever. The cursor's there, and every time that cursor moves across the word, it's read back to you.
Oh,
so
nice.
you don't have to record it. It's already there waiting for you to push the button.
Great. I'm learning a lot here.
that was worth the cost of admission today, right?
More than that.
Yeah. So having that readback, I find to be exceptionally good. Using a Microsoft Word grammar checker is good. The Google, I think, is actually a better grammar checker, and they pick up different things. AI, the first time I used it to do a editing, I had about 20 pages, and I said, please edit, and I ended up with 2 paragraphs, and that didn't help me a bit. So you have to tell it exactly what you want. And so now I have a paragraph that says, this is what I want you to do with regard to syntax, diction, punctuation, spelling, and you give it back to me. And then that's a decent one, but it's very sterile. So I'll run that one through a couple other editing options that are free. But one of the things that I like to do toward the end is I'll go back into AI and I say, proofread it at the 7th grade level. And so now it's taking some level of my complexity with chemical terms and other things and kind of downplaying it a little bit so I don't have hit you in the face with stuff you don't know all the time. And so there's a lot of things it can do. I've used it for a couple of my clients to develop book covers. I had one at 1850s, Central Texas. And this is what he wanted. Okay. So I got 5 covers designed, sent it to him. He says, I like A and B, or for just picking 2 out. And so I sent that to a real designer with another paragraph or 2 saying, here's the 2 he really likes. Here's what needs to be added. And so it clarified the cover situation immensely. So there's a lot of things you can do with it that's not taking away from your intellectual property. It's just that we don't know about it because we've never done it.
Well, good suggestions. Good suggestions. I'm taking notes.
And so I think the typical thing nowadays is, let's say I'm starting to write a book now. I'm starting also to market that book on day one. I haven't even put a pen to paper, but I'm telling, hey, Bill and Tom, Dick, and Harry, I'm writing this book on whatever. So I'm starting to get my social media coverage. And so by the time the book is actually ready to go, then, I've had a lot of stirring in the audiences, so to speak. And so that helps a lot too.
Good to know.
And as it actually comes out and now you have it, book launch, et cetera. So did you have any book launches at all on any of your stuff?
No. Well, I did here where we live. And what I like to do, Red, is I've made up a PowerPoint of about 10 slides of different individuals in the book, like Warren Spahn and Maurice Britt and Pat Tillman. And then I'll talk about those individuals. So it's not so much about selling the book as it is about telling the stories of the people in the book. And then we'll have some books available. And I am enjoying that more than just, trying to set up and sell a book. I think it's more fun to speak about it and have some feedback from people who are there in the audience. And they're probably more likely to remember something that's told verbally than what they've read. That's just my guess.
Warren Spahn, was he one of the 2 pitchers that did one of the longest games, consecutive innings?
He certainly was. Juan Marichal was the other, and they had 16 scoreless innings before somebody scored. It was an amazing, amazing, amazing game. And of course, it'll never happen again because pitchers couldn't throw that many pitches these days. They're just not physically trained to do it, and their managers will not allow them to do it. But yeah, he was a throwback. He, hadn't won a game before he was 25 years old, and he wound up winning 363 games. So I don't think we'll ever see that again either.
I think another thing we probably wouldn't see very often is a game being rained out at the Astrodome, because we don't play games in the Astrodome anymore.
No, but did you hear about the game that was rained in?
Rained in? No, I don't think I've heard about that one.
Okay, this was about 1975, and it was around 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon. There was a big storm that just dumped buckets and buckets of water on Houston. And some of the players were there it was supposed to be like a 7 o'clock game. So some of them were there, and they could have played. I think there were players from both teams actually there, but the umpires couldn't get through all the water to get to the Astrodome. So they had to cancel the game.
Okay, that was the one that got like 42 inches of rain in Alvin. And
That sounds right.
Yeah, they had 3 feet of water in the parking lot.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's different than the one that actually got rained out, because that was a different rainstorm, a couple of years difference from that one.
Okay.
But yeah, I wasn't here for that event, but I read about it. I've always had a minor interest in meteorology. I do a lot of flying, and it's one of those things you kind of pick up and you run into or bump into occasionally.
Right.
But the first Astro game that was not, the New York Yankees came in and they played an exhibition game. Well, I guess during one of the disputes in baseball, in order to have a baseball season, the Astros and others broadcast previous games. And so I knew that tomorrow they're having that exhibition game, so I recorded it. And that's one of my prized possessions, because I do have a recording of the very first game ever done in the Astrodome. That's
great. And did you hear the story about when Mickey Mantle came up to the plate to lead off the game? Since you followed him. Well, Mickey, of course, was a superstar. We all love Mickey. And he was batting leadoff in that exhibition game. Not that he normally did that, but he was going to get that honor from his manager of being the first guy ever to bat in a game in the Astrodome. And the guy who was the catcher for the Astros for that game told me that when Mickey stepped into the batter's box, the umpire said, hey, Mickey, the Hall of Fame wants to save this baseball and put it on display. So make sure you don't hit it. Make sure you take the first pitch of the game. He said, oh, I'm too nervous to swing anyway. That's no problem.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah.
I think he was so much of a natural, it didn't matter. But
Right.
I still have an actual newspaper cutting that I cut out where he almost hit a ball out of Yankee Stadium. It was almost a 600-foot ball. It bounced off way up high. And anyway, getting back to you here. Okay, so we have a lot of things going on there. Do you have any intention of getting your books into foreign languages?
No, I don't. Hadn't even thought about it. In fact, I know you've probably done that. I don't know if people in other countries would be that interested in reading about American athletes. I hadn't even thought about it.
Fiverr.com is the one I use for a lot of my clients for covers and for myself. You're familiar with that website?
No.
Okay,
no.
5, like the number 5, FIVERR.com.
Okay.
And for anywhere from $5 up, you can get a cover. And so when I get a cover for my book, I'll buy $5 covers, and I'll put them out on social media and say A or B, B or C, C or D, because what I like is not necessarily what my audience buys. And so I get, I've been surprised at some of the stuff comes back. I really like the cover, but nobody else does. Or the one I don't like, everyone else. And so they have now economical options for getting your book into Japanese or German or some other language. So that might be something, if you're thinking about it, I can pass that one on to you, because that's something that I will be doing more of. It just has to, obviously you have to get into ISBN and some other things in there, but it's something that I think it's worth it.
Okay. Thank you. Sure.
And when you do your books, do you send them to, you mentioned the World War II Museum in
Mhm.
New Orleans. Do you
Mhm.
send your books to some of these other museums?
I have not sent it. I did actually meet the public relations director when we were at the museum. He was a very nice man. I thought about it, but the reason I did not send him one was that they had so many books in that museum already. I thought it would just get lost in the shuffle.
Okay. How about libraries or schools and other places?
Yes, for sure. And, there's a museum in Fredericksburg, Texas, a few miles from here. And that's the Nimitz Museum on World War II on the South Pacific. And we went there a few years ago, and I really wanted to see it because I had heard such great things. But we went on a Tuesday, and it's closed on Tuesdays. Have you ever heard of that?
No, I have not.
Well, we didn't ever get to see it, but I'm going to try again sometime, and I would leave a book with them probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just it's a marketing ploy. It is. It just gets you out there a little bit. So I'm just trying to think of other things that might be of value. Um, What have you found from being a writer in sports that's helped you outside of anything that you've done?
I think all of us in sports have certain assumptions that we make about the knowledge people have about our sport. There, for instance, are a lot of women attracted to baseball. I think you get to know the players better in baseball. There's a game every night. It's kind of like a soap opera. You can see the players' faces, unlike football. And you just feel like you really get to know them because you see them so often. So, in that respect, I think that people know the game, but I don't think they necessarily know all the strategy, everything the manager's thinking about. And so there is an awful lot there that we can't and shouldn't assume that people know. And therefore, I think the more with the writing part of it, as far as a book goes, that can explain that and explain about a player and his shortcomings, we'll say, and how another player would try to exploit that guy's shortcomings or something along those lines. I think it's nice to have a healthy understanding of kind of what the average fan knows, and when they'll say, "I didn't know that," that's a good little memory device when it comes to writing about that particular subject.
Yeah. I'm going to make one more comment, and then I'm going to turn it over to you to tell people how to get your books and things. But I get out of something like that when I read, and let's say they were injured in the military and now they're coming back. They didn't give up, or they got injured in baseball. Some people would, they have such a passion for the sport, they can't give it up. And so long as they're productive and useful for the team, they show up. It doesn't matter. And I think that we have that same thing in other aspects of our lives. No matter what it is, we put on a happy face and we show up.
Right, right. And I, if we had more time, I would get into that because there are some guys in this book who definitely, one guy had his leg amputated below the knee, and they wanted to amputate his entire leg on the battlefield. He said, "No, I'm a baseball player. You can't have my leg. I'm going to be playing baseball again." Believe it or not, they amputated his leg below the knee, and he pitched again in the major leagues. So it's very inspirational to read these stories.
How do people get in touch with you? How do they buy your books?
They could email me at bbastro@aol.com. The book is on Amazon. It's $15 for paperback and $20 for the hardcover. And there it is. Yeah, thank you for displaying that. Wartime Athletes. It was a real pleasure to write this book. And thank you for your time today, Red.
Well, I look forward to, we're going to have another talk, whether it's in person having a lunch or we're going to be another TV show down the road. But we will connect again. We're both here in the Houston area. There's no reason why we can't.
I look forward to it. Thank you so much, Red.
So, Bill, take care, and we'll catch you later on. This is Red O'Loughlin getting ready to sign off on the Corner Bookstore on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. My next show starts in about 15 minutes, and it's called The Wise Ones. And I have a guy coming in today we talked to recently. He wrote a book on leadership, the skills he learned while he was in prison. It's kind of an interesting deal. Very interesting guy to talk to, so I'm looking forward to that one again. Last week on my own show called Talking Heads, I talked about how to write your book in 7 days. Well, today I'm going to talk about how you can publish your book in 7 days. That doesn't mean it gets edited in 7 days. It just means that the writing can be done to a certain point. The publishing can be done to a certain point. There's no longer a need to go to a whole year to get a book out. Anyway, that's what my plan is today. So Red O'Loughlin on the Corner Bookstore on the USA Global TV and Radio Network, and signing off, and we'll catch you all next week. Take care. Bye now.
Czy marzysz o własnym programie telewizyjnym? Chcesz dzielić się swoją historią z całym światem? Teraz jest Twój moment, by zabłysnąć. Na USA Global TV and Radio pomagamy Ci stworzyć, poprowadzić i transmitować Twój własny program. Jesteś przedsiębiorcą, ekspertem czy artystą? Pomożemy Ci zrealizować Twoje wizje. Oferujemy profesjonalne szkolenia z wywiadów, transmisji na żywo i podcastów. Z nami zdobędziesz pewność siebie i umiejętności, by przyciągnąć uwagę widzów na całym świecie. Dołącz do społeczności twórców, którzy już zmieniają świat. Jeden program naraz. Twój głos zasługuje na to, by go usłyszano. Wejdź na scenę. Poprowadź własny program w USA Global TV and Radio. Zarezerwuj rozmowę wstępną na stronie usaglobaltv.com. Copyright 2025 USA Global TV and Radio. Wszelkie prawa zastrzeżone. Obowiązują warunki. Dowiedz się więcej na usaglobaltv.com.
Get ready to wear the brand that's changing the world of media. Introducing the official USA Global TV and Radio online store. From our TV show hosts to our incredible global guests, you asked, we delivered. Rep your appearance with pride. Whether you've been on air, hosted a show, or tuned in, we have something just for you. Visit us at usaglobaltvradioshoп.myspreadshop.com and start shopping today. Check back frequently. We're dropping fresh new designs all the time. Showcase your role in our global community. These designs celebrate your voice, your story, your presence. It's more than just merchandise. It's a movement of hope, inspiration, education, and elevated listening. Head to usaglobaltvradioshoп.myspreadshop.com. Your spotlight awaits. USA Global TV and Radio. Elevate your style. Elevate the world.
From the magical world of the amazing adventures of Lady Ella comes a heartwarming new journey filled with kindness, courage, and compassion. Lady Ella, the beloved ladybug and listening mentor, is back, and this time she is not alone. Meet her brave and thoughtful brother, Lord Jack. Together, they take flight on their very first kindness adventure. Along the way, they meet 3 new friends in need: a duck feeling discouraged, a mouse struggling to be understood, and a busy little bee who's completely lost. But with the power of elevated listening and simple acts of kindness, Lady Ella and Lord Jack show us how understanding and empathy can make the biggest difference in someone's day. Written by Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, the listening mentor, this 9th book in the best-selling Lady Ella series teaches children ages 5 to 10 the essential skills of listening, kindness, and etiquette. Now available for pre-order on Amazon. Scan the QR code and order your copy today.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dyes. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.